Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to attempt 3 at a live stream, because been having a few technical issues today. Hopefully they're kind of finished now. So we're going to start with the beginner's questions. What a funny day today. Anyway, so Brenda asks, with 1 minute changes, is quality better than quantity? What number of changes is good? Well, there's loads of information on the site for you there, Brenda, already about a good amount, which is normally, I say, around 30 pairs of changes or 60 complete changes. Depends if you count like moving from one chord to another chord as one change, or one chord to another chord and back as one change. So if you count each time you change a chord at all as counting one, then 60 is a good amount. It's the recommended amount. And yes, the idea is that you, if you're going to do 1 minute changes, that you do 1 minute changes as well as the strum, pick out and strum thing, because if you don't do that as well, you're going to end up with really sloppy chord changes. But the idea is that the strum, pick out and strum gives you an accurate, good chord and really trains the fingers up exactly where to go. And the 1 minute changes is about just getting your fingers moving faster, which is often the problem for a lot of people. So the idea is to kind of do a mixture of those two things. That should be the plan for you. And I think it generally kind of works, I think, most of the time. For most people, most of the time, it's an effective solution to combine those two things. So, okay, question. I've been working my pinky and ring finger, this is from Michael. Find pinky knuckle has a real choppy popping motion, not smooth. Have you had this problem in your earlier suggestion? No, but everybody's hand is different. And lots of people have kind of physical problems that might stop them playing guitar, but you know, you just have to kind of deal with it and try and find a way around the problem. You know, if you're looking at Django Reinhardt, he had those fingers fused together. You know, lots of people, you know, I think I said this last week or the week before, there are guys who can play that don't have arms, that are using their feet to play guitar. So, you know, if you've got a clicky little finger, you know, relatively insignificant problem compared to not having arms, for example. Yeah, it's just something that you have to find a way around, you know. Because sometimes there is a physical thing, like a clicky joint, or one of the fingers kind of bends out a funny way, or one of them doesn't work properly because of a specific thing, an injury, you know. And so you just, when you have something like that, you kind of have to find your own way, because it's very difficult for me not knowing you, or knowing the problem or the details of it, or, you know, or having any experience in getting around that sort of stuff, because I've been, touch wood, pretty lucky with that sort of stuff. So okay, Zishan asks what action is. So action in a guitar kind of a sense is the distance that the strings are from the fingerboard. So when you look at your guitar, well, whichever way you want to look at it, the distance between the string and the fingerboard, you know, actually it's easier to see it with the thicker string probably. So depending on how high is, that would be a ridiculously high action, and you probably wouldn't be able to play. And if it's too low, if your action's too low, no, I can't actually kind of make this seem too low, but you get a lot of this like buzzy and fretting out kind of a sound. So the thing that you're looking for really is a low action, because it means that the strings are easier to press down, but not so low as to make it really buzzy. If you've got a very high action, playing bar chords is very, very difficult. Okay, so I've suggested to people a few times, if you're really struggling with F chord when you first get to F, something that you should at least try is going to a regular music shop and trying a few different guitars out, maybe more expensive guitars, and seeing if it's easier, if you can actually do it on that, because it might be a good kind of clue that you need to get your guitar set up, and have the action lowered, which is the kind of job that most decent kind of well, guitar repairer type people would have. And most music shops either have a in-house guitar setup guy, or they know somebody who can do you a setup. I think that would be a good plan. Just let me open up my other window over here of the questions, and let's see who's still around. Mods, I don't know if there's any way of notifying people that were at the other URL, or whether that's just gone because I deleted it. So Justin Taylor, I don't know if Justin is still around on the forum here, but he asked what thickness of picks do you recommend for acoustic and electric for a fairly new player. So again, there's a whole section on guitar picks as part of my beginners course. I recommend for complete beginners very thin picks, very thin, as thin as you can get kind of thing. For acoustic guitar, I generally use it's kind of, well, it's the JustinGuitar brand. It's not JustinGuitar brand, it's called Grip-X is the type of material, but it's just got my logo on it, and you buy them from the JustinGuitar store. But the orange thickness, I don't know what it is, I think it's 0.63 or something, it's on the website. And for electric guitar, I'm changing it up a bit lately. For years and years I used these little ones called a Jazz 3, but just lately I've been moving to a different material, Jazz 3, which is the same material as this Tortex stuff, which I think I like this material a bit better than the Jazz 3. Seems to sound different. And I use those Jazz 3s on electric guitar and acoustic guitar if it's particularly complicated. So that's what that is. Don't Listen asks when the blues course release date is. So I filmed the whole of the blues lead course, the new one, the first part of the new one, because the new one's massive, the first part of it, which is 15 lessons, and I filmed that this week. I've edited the first half. I'm hoping that the first one will come out at the beginning of February, so I'm hoping to have all of the editing done in the next week, and I think it's going to come out on Tuesdays. Not positive about that yet, but that's kind of what I think. New course is looking really good though. I'm really happy with the whole the structure of it and what's covered in the course and all that sort of stuff. I think that's a pretty big deal. Oh, another note for mods: if you could sort the questions on my doc to be for people that are still here on the stream, that would be great. I like gay. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce your name, dude. Pierre Paolo. A light gauge or high gauge strings better? So you don't normally call it light or high. It's either light or heavy. Would be the common term. Light strings are easier to do string bending, and usually you can get a lower action with lighter strings as well. But they don't have as good sound, as thicker sound. So on different guitars I have different string setups. I generally use 10s on electric guitar. If I know I'm not doing much string bending, like I'm mainly a rhythm part, I might restring with 11s just because I think it sounds a lot fuller. And on acoustic guitar, like on the Chord Jester, I've got 13s on, which is quite heavy. And I like that because it's mainly, I don't do string bendy sort of fancy stuff on that guitar. The action's a bit higher as well on that one, and it's more for recording, like rhythm parts and stuff, like Neil Young-y style things. And then I use this one, which has got lighter strings. I think they're 11s even, which is quite light for an acoustic guitar. And this is the one that I'd play more technical sort of stuff on. So it's a kind of a preference string gauge. It's something that you will, you should experiment with a little bit and find out what you like. Do you have any funk lessons DVD or Stevie Ray Vaughan style DVD? I don't have anything on DVD. I mean, I've got DVDs out, but funk and Stevie Ray Vaughan, all the lessons are on the site. So if you use the good old search feature on the website, you'll find all the stuff I've got on that. What exercises help in improving speed? Asks Zishan. Speed exercises. Well, being that we're in beginner realm, 1 minute changes is definitely the best speed exercise that beginners should be doing. Don't generally recommend beginners do lots of very technical kind of speed exercises. They should work on getting chords and strumming really good first, and worry about any of that sort of more technical stuff later. That's what I would recommend. Fark with an A. asks, is it okay to put electric guitar strings on an acoustic guitar? Well, yeah. I've seen it done a number of times, but they don't generally sound as good. The thinner strings are essentially the same sort of material. So if I'd run out of strings, I might put an electric guitar string on an acoustic guitar. But tonally, it's probably not a great idea. It's not going. I don't think it's going to damage anything, but I don't think so. Might be worth checking with someone in case I'm wrong there. But yeah. Generally, it's better to buy electric strings for electric guitar. Savannah Green asks, my rhythm is bad sometimes. Besides a metronome, what can I do to improve it? So playing with a metronome is definitely a really good idea. But I really recommend playing along with original recordings as well of professional records. Just because with a metronome, it's very easy to get into the mechanics of stuff, and that's good because you have to conquer that. You have to make the movements in the correct way and be in time. But the musicality of strumming is slightly different. And playing along with original recordings is a really good way of kind of absorbing some of that time feel. You know, that's what we call the technical name for the humanness of rhythms. Because if it was all about maths, you know, mathematical subdivisions of time, then computers would do better grooves than drummers would, right? So because they'd be more perfect. But when you get a great drummer and you analyze what it is they've played, it's never exactly right. It's always a little bit loose, and it's really interesting as a kind of an idea that it is that way. And so playing along with original recordings, one of the things I kind of attempted to mention on the previous live stream before it got aborted, is doing the muted thing and playing along with the original recording just without playing the chords and just playing along. I just filmed a lesson this week, as well as the blues lead course. I managed to get 10 songs recorded this week, which is not a bad effort. So 25 lessons or something filmed in the last 6 days. Anyway, before I start tooting my horn too much, one of the songs I did was this "If It Makes You Happy" by Sheryl Crow, and it's got a fantastic this groove in it. And it's just, oh, it's so nice. Like the original recording, that I just played it fast again. It's always what happens for me with that particular groove for some reason. But you playing along with it, even if you weren't playing all the riff and all that fancy stuff, if you just muted that and play along with it and really try and relax, because that kind of groove is really kind of late, and it's not late. That's the wrong word. It's really relaxed with the beat, right? So when you play it, you have to feel yourself relaxed to be able to do it right. And again, trying to play along with that particular track will help you absorb some of that slow grooviness, because it's really important to try and develop that. So just trying to find the songs that you, because we all connect differently with different time feels too. So it's kind of worth picking a song that you really, really like the feel of, one that makes you feel good and that you like the sound of, and then try and strum along. Just mute the strings up and enjoy strumming along with the thing. Again, the consistent hand thing is the big deal, right? If your hand's not moving consistently, then something's going wrong. Okay, so I would definitely try and pay some attention to that. That's, you know, playing with a metronome's a really good idea, but playing along with the longer I play and the longer I try and help people develop, I'm more inclined to recommend playing along with original recordings. You know, if you took "Wish You Were Here" or something like that, just trying to play along with the, you know, just really trying to make it feel as nice as you can. You know, not worrying about whether it's down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, or whatever. You can hear it. It's just wonky. You know, you want to try and get the mechanics sorted out first. Know what it is that you want to do, and then really concentrate on trying to make it feel nice. And it's a lot easier to work on making things feel nice with a recording of a song that you like than it is with a metronome. However, more serious guitar players, so i.e. not beginners, definitely working with a metronome and learning to get a groove on with a metronome is a kind of an important thing as well, particularly if you're doing recording, if you fancy yourself playing in a band and writing songs or doing session work or whatever. Often you'll just have a click, you know, so the producer will give you the chord chart or whatever and put a click in your ear and go play along with that, and you've got to make it feel nice, you know, on your own. So it's also something to be considered, but definitely not maybe for a beginner's thing. Yes, the Sheryl Crow lesson's coming. I can't remember when it is. I think it's April-ish. I know it seems ages away, but I'm recording for new beginner songs to come out every week, and I'm already recording for June. I'm up to already. So I've got a beginner song coming out every Friday until at least June, which is kind of fun. Okay, Yo Helmo, Mike says, I can't get the F chord down in one action. I have to do it in 2 steps. If I try to put it down in one, it is nowhere near. Any tips? Okay, so for a lot of people, you've got to try and do it in 2 actions for an F chord when you start. Remember that moving to it is common, but once you get into bar chords, you're probably more likely to change from one bar chord to another bar chord. That happens a lot. So changing from like a D chord to an F chord is quite a big motion, and it's not a particularly common or popular one. I'm just picked D as an example. But what you need to do, I don't know if you can kind of see what's happening there, but when I'm going from the D chord, as I'm playing F, it's already an F. As soon as I've left the D chord, there, it's F. And now I'm just putting it down. Now on the website, I call this air changes. Is about trying to find the shape so you can see if I slowed my fingers down, now I'm going to a C chord. As soon as I'm going to the chord, it's getting there. It's forming the shape even before the fingers are down. Right? So if I do it nice and slowly or whatever, you know, and that happens even on more complicated chords, I'm looking for trying to find that chord shape straight away so that the fingers are just there. Okay? Now, that takes practice, but it can also help to do it with awareness, especially again in the beginner kind of circuit. When you go doing like G to D, for example, if you're not doing the double finger G, and just trying to work on going there and then trying to remember where it goes and see if you can form your fingers so that when they come down onto the strings, they're already in the form to go down together. So for the F, you're like, okay, I've positioned the bar, there's my E shape, put it down. Okay, let's go back to G because that's a pretty big change, and then lift it off, trying to do it, there's the shape, put it down. And again, put it down in the shape, there we go. And just doing that sort of stuff over and over again can really help. Yeah, being aware of a problem is the first step every time. If you're not aware of a problem, you're never going to fix it. So get yourself aware of the problem and then see if you can find some ways of sorting it out. That is what I would recommend anyway. I'm having trouble muting strings with power chords on acoustic guitar. Okay, that's a bit beyond stage 2, but it's still beginner's question, so that we'll have that. The big deal with one of the differences, one of the kind of changes that happens between beginner stages and intermediate stages, the way I perceive the whole thing, because remembering the difference between a beginner and intermediate is only kind of something I made up. There's no official thing like that. But the way I teach beginners is with the thumb around the back. Okay, so you know, looking down the fingerboard, you want to make sure that the thumb is positioned. You can see they're always the top half, never below. If you imagine there was a black line down the middle of the neck, thumb's pretty much never going to go below that. So it always sits in that top half anyway, right? So when you're playing anything as a beginner, most beginners play like this with the fingers really round. Okay, so whenever they're playing anything, fingers are round all the time, and that's got use. Okay, the reason that it's a good idea to learn that is because it helps build the muscles up in the hand, and particularly this muscle here. Okay, the one between your thumb and your first finger, because particularly for bar chords, that's where the workout becomes, right? So when you're playing power chords, you've got to get into the idea that this first finger is touching all the strings, okay? Because actually that happens all the time. Like when if I'm looking down there, if you look while I'm playing scales, you can see that the first finger there. So a good little exercise I often do is playing a scale while I'm strumming all of the notes that I'm playing and all the strings underneath it. Oh, that's a bit ropey there at the end. But the idea there is that the first finger, if it presses too hard, you get that, right? But even if you don't have to be that accurate, that's just a good exercise. But the idea should be, when you're doing power chords, that those thinnest 3 strings are muted. Okay, so the underneath of the fingers there, no matter what you play, you see the underside of that first finger. And even as I'm transitioning, so I can still do those muted strums, first finger sits on all the strings, right? With a 5th string root, also important to notice the tip of the first finger touching the thicker string. Okay, so if you don't do that, you get that ringing out. So just the tip of the finger. So actually, if you're playing power chords, no matter what you do, I'm strumming all the strings every time. Okay, and I'm only getting the power chord stuff. So hopefully that answers your question there about power chords and muting. Kyle says, I've somehow accidentally learned to finger the D chord weird like James Taylor. Should I go back and relearn it in the normal way? It doesn't seem to affect my chord changes. Well, years ago, the younger me would have said, yes, you should definitely go back and change it and learn to do it the way that I show people. But, you know, as I'm getting older, I'm thinking that it's more important for people to do things their own way, you know, and definitely if I had been a teacher of James Taylor, I would have told him his D chord was wrong and he should have played it a different way. But Jesus, James Taylor, he's made millions of amazing records and is a far better songwriter and guitar player than I'll ever be, you know. So it seems a little bit hypocritical for me to sit there and tell somebody that they shouldn't do something a particular way. So I mean, holding the pick, I'm a really big advocate of holding the pick with the first and second fingers only, right? But there are some incredible guitar players that hold it with 2 fingers or even 3 fingers. I think Van Halen holds it with more than 1 finger. I can't remember exactly. It's just kind of lingering in my mind. I mean, you know, he's Eddie Van Halen. You know, who am I to say that he's holding the pick wrong? It's just ridiculous. So, you know, what I try to give you as on the website is a general approach to playing guitar that should work for most people most of the time. That's the best that I can do, right? And that's kind of what I'm aiming for, because if you're really going to go forward and become kind of an artist and do stuff that's beyond just enjoying guitar as a recreational thing, then being unique becomes a little bit more important than being correct, right? And I think that's an important kind of distinction, something that I'm going to be focusing a little bit more attention on the website over the next year probably, is the difference between playing as an artist and playing as for recreation. If you want to play just for fun and you want to, you know, play common songs and that kind of thing, then learning my correct way is going to be very helpful. But if you really want to be an artist, a creative writer, or the next, you know, whoever, the famous guitar player that you really, well, shouldn't want to be like them. If you want to be an artist, you want to invent your own thing, then it doesn't, you know, you should totally be free to try and do other new stuff and do whatever it is that whatever you feel like. That's how I see it anyway. How does James Taylor play the D chord? He plays with I teach it like that. He puts first and second fingers around the other way. Okay. It loses. There's a lot of benefits that you lose by doing that. The most importantly is the anchor finger, because there's no other chord that uses any of those fingers as an anchor finger that I can think of. Oh, maybe maybe F. I mean, it's awkward, but to play his style and the way he does all of those, he does a lot of this little hammer on there with the first finger. And I mean, I can do it with I can do it more or less as well with using, you know, it's not really. It's not that different, but that's how it is. Okay. Questions. Let me go to the stream there. H. Jennings 104 says, is it safe to play an acoustic electric through a tube amp? It is, so long as that you don't push the volume too hard, right? So you probably wouldn't want to turn the volume up a lot if you do that. And the reason that it's different and that you would require an acoustic amp is that the frequency ranges that come out with an acoustic guitar are generally a bit lower, and lower frequencies have to move a bigger sound wave and therefore generally require a bigger speaker. Now, I don't understand or profess to understand the science behind all of that works, how that works, except that they're different, right? Because I know you can get great response from bass response from very small speakers, and I don't understand how that works. But if you put an acoustic guitar through a normal electric guitar amp and you turned it up too loud, you might do damage to the speaker. So just, if you're going to do it, make sure it's small, not loud is what I meant. There was a question just flicked off on the screen, but I've lost the name of who wrote it, about the Australian Songbook. The Australian Songbook is next on my to-do list as far as books are concerned. I've got some other stuff going on later in this year, and I'm going to become a bit busy, and so I'm trying to record enough stuff at the moment to last through that period. So that's my main focus at the moment, was to get the blues lead course finished. I need to get the second blues lead course finished. I've got a funk course that needs doing, and a jazz walking bass thing that needs doing, and an oral training course. They're the courses I'm hoping to get done next month. So when they are finished, I'm planning on writing the Australian book in March. That's the plan. Maybe before then, but it's possible that it won't be before then. That's the idea. Somebody asked a question about Buckethead as well. I don't know enough about Buckethead to have an opinion on him, is the honest answer. I know that he wears a bucket on his head and he played with Guns N' Roses, and that he plays some pretty cool technical guitar stuff, but beyond that I don't know enough about his stuff. I never heard a record of his or anything like that, so I wouldn't want to have an opinion on that. Okay, back over here. Pretham asks, hey Justin, normally when I play chords I place my fingers one by one on the fretboard. I'm learning the G and C chords right now. Should I try and place them all at once, or is this okay? So this is, if you're following my beginner's course, I would recommend that you put your fingers down in finger order. So starting with the first finger, then second finger, third finger, for the first chunk of the beginner's course. I think it's like stage 5 or 6, maybe 7, where we start looking at air changes, which was something I was talking about before, about shaping the chord in the air and putting the fingers down all at once. But you want to first of all be really confident of where the fingers go. So for now, I would stay with putting the finger. If you're doing a C chord, go 1, 2, 3, and then to a G chord, 1, 2, 3, to an E chord, 1, 2, 3. Put them down one at a time. That's totally fine. Further on down the track, you might want to start putting the fingers down all at once. Okay, I'm going to take one more beginner kind of question, and then we're going to launch into the more open stuff. So Peter asks, me and Mrs. are both learning guitar. Any suggestions on newbie play together? Practice songs, practice. Okay, so if you got two new beginners playing together, usually the fun starts when they both have different difficulties, and also it can be the rhythm side of stuff can get a little bit wonky. So a couple of things that you might like to try doing. One is both playing along with a song at the same time. So for example, if you were playing Dance the Night Away, the Mavericks thing, which is just an A chord and a D chord, you could get some really nice stuff going on. You'd need a cap on the second fret to play along with the original, but if one's just trying to play one rhythm along with the song and the other one's trying to go, or any other rhythm that they know that might work, you know, that can be a really interesting thing. Both trying to play the same rhythm would be a good first step, and then maybe one person could try a different rhythm, or one person could try picking out notes from the chord one at a time. That kind of thing works really nice. So through doing that along with the original recording, you'll both hopefully develop your time a little bit, and you'll be confident to play together. And then after a few goes, you might try turning the original recording off and see how you get on. It'll probably be a bit of fun to start off with, but hopefully good fun, and that's kind of the idea, is that it should be fun. Later on in the beginner's course, when you get into the blues thing, it's a lot of fun to start exploring jamming together. That's something I explore a lot more in the intermediate kind of level stuff, but even in the beginner's stage, you know, having one person do it and the other one go, or whatever, you know, experimenting with the minor pentatonic is incredibly good fun. I always found it to be incredibly good fun, so hopefully you will too. So that's what I'd recommend for a starting point anyway, between the two beginner people playing together. It's always a good idea to play with people that are better than you if you can, right? You learn the most that way, so I definitely recommend doing that. So DJ Keith is heading off, one of the moderators, so thank you very much, Keith. Much appreciate your stopping by to help us out there with the mod duty. Looks like we got a couple of mods still hanging around, so I'm going to start the open season. I keep calling it open season. I don't know why I call it that. It's an open Q&A session is what I should be calling it, which will be questions about anything really.